What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 87, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube right now, you will see a completely different video scene than what the actual recording was because the intros and outros didn't record. So I am improvising now these intros and outros to make sure this podcast gets up in its full entity form. And that's what happens sometimes, guys, in the flow of this technology world. And it actually is a lot of fun because this episode with Katie, she is freaking hilarious. And I was going back through the podcast interview just to get some notes and stuff like that to write for the show notes. And it was hilarious. Her story isn't hilarious about like the car accident and the major traumas she went through and the healing process she went through. But her attitude and her jokes and the way I laughed and the way the dogs showed up in this podcast, like they like took out the light. They're growling in the thing and Katie's just flowing with it. She's like, that's how I felt. That growl was like inside of me, that passion to change. And she is so fucking funny. So we moved through a lot of pattern breaking and a lot of her experience through that and what she does now with somatic healing in the world and how she steps in to use her gifts and her mission in this beautiful, beautiful radiant light. So with no further ado, here we go, guys. Episode 87, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. This is good. I'm stoked to see what transpires in the next short period of time for us as we maneuver through this conversation, Katie, with two puppies wrestling beside me and like all the things not working out of my energy. I'm like,
I didn't realize Chewbacca was in our interview. Whatever.
I'm like, one of them will hit the floor in a couple of minutes. So if they keep up with this interaction, but I'm so happy my earphones are working and my microphone. But welcome to the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. I am so grateful to have you here because I feel like your story, and I can't wait to see how it's going to unfold, has some potent information for all of us to kind of lean in and learn from. So how about we kind of start like spiritual journey, your story of truth, you know, where you want to begin the conversation, and then we can kind of move from wherever you take us in this journey together.
Yeah. Once upon a time, I was a teeny tiny sperm, egg fertilized. No, we're not going to go back that far. It's like, how far back do you want to go? Okay. I was a soul floating in space into my mother's body. No, but it was exciting. I actually, this is very random, but I have had conversations with people recently about like birth trauma and stuff like that. So I actually think that my birth was joyous and they were very happy when I arrived. But my story, it is an interesting one. I actually have a dog here also. If you hear like a boom, boom, it is not a drum. It is a tail beating against a cabinet. Let's see. Serious story here. When I was a little girl, essentially I grew up in a household with a lot of trauma, alcoholics, suicides. My grandmother on my mother's side was in a coma. So there was a lot of heavy stuff going on around me when I was a little girl. My parents loved me very much. I had all the love, food, shelter, care available, but obviously there was a lot of stuff happening. I didn't really understand the gravity of that, the impact, until actually, frighteningly, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, wow, that really, really, really was hard for me. And I didn't realize it. But that was the beginning of this because I was a little girl trying to keep it together, trying to be the light worker, trying to be the one that made everything better. And I was really, really sad and disappointed that I didn't make it happen. You know, I didn't do my job enough. So that was my little childhood. When I got older, I was studying theater. I was training to be an actress. So I did a lot of performing in high school. In my 20s, I moved to New York City. I did the whole theater thing. I also had a large amount of sexual trauma and unpleasantries occur in that time frame because of the industry I was in. And, you know, I was working as a cocktail waitress also. And I was in the liquor industry to make ends meet. So I was really, really struggling. Self-esteem, self-worth, all that stuff was really, really bad. But again, didn't really know that either. And I was the sort of tough, hardworking girl that was going to make everything work out okay. And the big inciting incident was when I was 29, I got hit by a taxi. And that was obviously a big eye-opening thing for me, big life-changing experience. You leaned in, you're like, and then what happened? It's a really good story. I mean,
I'm
really,
like, oh my God. It's
it
always
is
like the
amazing.
pivotal moments, right? It's like these like
Yeah.
traumatic things. Yeah. So please
Yeah,
keep
it was
going.
nuts. I mean, really,
Yeah.
seriously. And I've been telling the story a lot recently. And when I tell it now, I'm more than ever aware of like, that really is kind of an incredible experience.
Mm.
Um, what ended up happening though was I wasn't hurt. I wasn't dirty. Nothing was broken. I probably should have been I should have at least been very badly injured. The car was going like 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the big shift for me, my spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, because one, I lived when I should have died. Two, I became very aware of the fact that I was in pain emotionally and that I was letting people take advantage of me and hurt me and make me feel badly about myself. And three, it really sort of lit me up in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, because if I
Yeah.
was letting to me, I became aware of like, you know what, I'm not the only person who struggles with stuff like this. I'm not one who has, you know, problems and areas where this sort of stuff is going on. And so that was the beginning of the next sort of phase, because I decided that I wanted to spend the rest of my life teaching people as if they matter. So that was when I was 29. And then the last 15 years has been another emotional experience in itself. Had a spiritual teacher who was basically like my guru, did the whole thing, went through my own healing, built this transformational system, Shakti Bomb. And that's where I am today. You know, I'm 44, living my life, doing what I do. And grateful for every aspect of it, but I'll tell you, it sure was a roller coaster.
Yeah. Let's go back to like, so this whole thing happened with this taxi, and you're considering life differently because something shifted in you at those moments that you saw life different. And I'd love to just go back to that moment in time, because I think there's a lot of grit in there for people to understand, because there's a lot of people going through their stuff right now. There's a lot of people moving through some things and they're scared or they're hesitating or they're not sure. Yeah, I have like a playground happening right now. They're like literally knocking tables and everything. Like it's like, I'm like, apparently I should have taken them out and ran them down the road for at least 10 minutes before this
I don't hear them.
interview.
I don't hear
No,
them.
that's
I
good.
just had a dishwasher in the other room go bleep. So
Yeah,
we got all kinds. We got life.
active.
This
Yeah,
is
this is
life.
real.
This is real
This
life.
is real. Yeah. So talk to us about like this moment of decision that you decided what? Tell us about
That
it.
I
Like,
was going
'cause
to make a
yeah.
change. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very much. Well, it was very. There was one aspect of it that was very simple, and I often say it was a lot like. Did you ever see the movie I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer?
Yes.
She's like riding
Yes.
the bike, and she's all
Yes.
like one way. She falls off the bike, hits her head, and then she's like, "I'm beautiful," and loves herself, and nothing really changed.
Yeah.
Interestingly, there was an aspect of it that was like that for me, because I did actually hit I did not hit my head, but I came to find out later that I had a person that I worked with who taught me neuroplasticity, and one of the things that she said was, when I got hit by the car, my brain hit my skull, and so I had a brain injury. That might not have even been picked up on a CAT scan. Maybe it would have. I don't know. But it wasn't like a bad brain traumatic thing that was going to like impair my ability, but it did disrupt some things. And so there was this part of me that just literally, it was like, it like shook my brain and changed my, I saw the world differently after that. It's like the saying in what's it called? Chevy Chase, National Lampoons, and he's like, kicked by, like falls down a well, her eyes go across, kicked by a mule, they come uncrossed. Like when I was 2 years old, I got hit in the head with a TV because I pulled a desk down and it cut my finger off, and the TV hit me in the head. So I had this brain injury at 2 years old. And then when I was 29, I got hit by this taxi. And so there was one aspect of it that was actually my brain readjusting, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool. And then the other aspect of it was, believe it or not, one of the things that had happened was I was dating this guy. The guy was a jerk face. The night that I got hit by the car, he stood me up. And I was devastated. He was such an asshole also. But he stood me up, and I was so devastated that he stood me up that was one of the reasons why I was so sad and depressed that I basically decided that no one would care if I died. And I got hit by a car because I kind of walked in front of it. So,
So interesting.
yeah. And I mean, the thing is, like, I didn't go marching in front of it like, I'm going to kill myself. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I give up. And you know what? If the taxi doesn't see me and I die, oh, well. It was more like that. It wasn't like passionate suicide. It was more just like a surrender of like, oh, well, no one cares, right? So let's see what happens. Typical me. And
typical me.
Because I was like with the desk, right? Like if I put my fingers in here and I noodle around in the desk, let's see what happens. Well, it turns out desk falls on you, cuts your finger off, and hits you in the head with a GD. Like, don't do it. Don't do it, baby. But I did it anyway, and I'm still here. So it was two different pieces of it. So there was the head injury part, then there was the guy. And here's the thing that really got me to be like, that's it. That's it. That's how I felt in my soul when I was really making the changes, was like, like Chewbacca there, like your dog. It was very like,
I'm muting right now as you're talking because they're like going nuts. I know.
Hear it, only me. I hear it. I love it. It reminds me of my passion when I chose to change my life. So I can be a little wild, like a little puppy. So I feel them. But what ended up happening is I didn't actually break up with the guy. He basically like lied to me. He said he was asleep, whatever. He made me feel guilty because I got hit by a car and whatever. He's total dick face. And then my birthday was like a month later, and he was such an asshole. He treated me like shit on my 30th birthday, didn't give me a gift. I cried. I was like sad and pathetic puppy, basically, like nobody loves me. You don't love me. And that time my family witnessed it. They saw me letting this guy emotionally abuse me. He didn't hit me, but they saw it. And they all said something like, you deserve to be treated better. And my sister at the time, she had a partner, and the partner said something like, I think you might want to go to an Al-Anon meeting because you clearly have no self-esteem and no self-worth, and you have to do something about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that was devastating to me because I didn't realize Al-Anon and AA were different. I thought she was calling him an alcoholic. I was so upset. And also I was drinking a lot. So, I mean, I was on the verge of possibly becoming an alcoholic. I'm from alcoholics, and a bunch of them killed themselves. So, I mean, it was just like, and she told me about this poem by Portia Nelson, which you may have heard before, which is they do it at Al-Anon and AA meetings where they talk about the hole in the sidewalk.
Right.
There's a hole in my sidewalk. I fall in the hole. There's a hole in my sidewalk. I see the hole. I fall in the hole. There's a hole in my sidewalk. I see the hole. I avoid the hole. I fall in the hole. There's a hole in my sidewalk. I see the hole. I walk down another street. And she told me this poem. And she was like, listen, you keep falling in the same hole.
Right. Wow.
You have to do something about it. And that was the beginning, because I was like, listen, I am way too good of a person to live the rest of my life being treated like garbage. Letting others treat me, giving up on myself. I will not do it. I will not accept it. I will not allow it. So I went and I marched over to his apartment. I remember I broke up with him. And he was like, you can't talk to me like that. You can't. Because I was like, you're an asshole. You stood me up. You fucked me over on my birthday. You don't really care about me. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
You're not a good boyfriend. And he's like, you can't talk to me like that. And I go, well, I'll never forget it. It was like, because everything is a movie to me. Everything is dramatic because it's fun. And I was like, well, I just did. And I think I had like a pencil and I like broke the pencil of his apartment. And I was
Oh
like,
my God, that's
yeah,
hilarious.
I just did.
Yeah.
And I felt like the angels were like, oh, like I could feel the crowd roaring from heaven, like, yay.
Finally,
And
they're probably
so
going
that
finally. I always
was,
get this like, yeah, image. Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say I always get this image of like our guides from the background behind us, actually like going, "Oh my God, she finally did it!" Like we've been telling her this for years. But yeah, please continue.
right. I mean, that's it. So that was sort of how I began to keep going, because after that, then I got a spiritual teacher, and all of that just kind of magically unfolded as well. It was like I knew a person, she had helped me in the past. I went to her, she did a healing. I got fired from my job, my toxic whiskey job, so I lost my job. Was like, uh-oh, okay. Then I had to start earning more money in different ways. My voiceover career took off. Then I started really kind of studying with the man that became my mentor, because I was like, wow, this shit's really working. Like my life is changing. I'm getting better. And I did. I started to I changed very quickly. Like the process of the person that I was, I changed. I don't want to say overnight, because that's not true, because this has happening over an extended period of time. Like it wasn't like one day I just became a different person, but it was very quickly changing, right? Like
Yeah.
rapidly over a period of months, I began to change. And I remember my family being like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like this is the girl that used to get angry and overreact. This is the oversensitive girl that like, da, 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 like, and people were observing the changes in me and they were like, what are you doing? Like, what
Yeah.
is happening? What is happening to you? How are you doing this so quickly? And it was a combination of energy work, the energy healing techniques that I've studied, and I was going to my teacher's workshops. So I was
Right.
going and I was learning from him, and I was like understanding things. Then I learned NLP, and that was like the big life changing thing for me, because then I started to see that the reason why I felt the way I felt my whole life wasn't because there was anything wrong with me. It was because I had been hurt and I put it in my subconscious. And all of a sudden I felt like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a monster. I'm not messed up. I just like, I have a lot of stuff in my subconscious and I just didn't know it was there, and it was
Yeah.
running my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that in itself gave me so much of my life back, because just understanding that the reason why I was struggling my whole life was because I had had all this stuff happen to me and I
Yeah.
just didn't acknowledge it, was like, oh my God.
Yeah. This is a powerful, powerful place to be, because if humanity, like every single one of us as individuals, actually started to look at this in our life, like the whole entire earth plane would change. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that that will ever happen in the way that it is, because each of us has different soul assignments and contracts and why we're here and all the scope of that. But the tools of healing and powerfully looking inside of ourselves are such a key component to like our expansion, to our mission, to our impact on the world. So I love that you brought that forward.
Yeah. I mean, it is, in terms of the evolution and the process, it is really fascinating to see that if we can really, like, I call it compassionate integration, if we can really compassionately see ourselves for who we are, where we've been, what's happened, our light, our dark, our traumas, our joys, our sadnesses, and integrate all those pieces compassionately, like really, really love and accept all the parts of ourselves and integrate it,
Yeah.
meaning bring it into one cohesive unit, then we can live our lives with confidence and ease again, because we know that all of those things did happen. It's a strange thing. It's like, by trying to convince yourself that it didn't happen, or that you can get rid of it somehow, or that you have to get rid of it,
Yeah.
you can make it harder for you to actually heal, because it's not possible to get rid of it. Like I
Right.
hear a
It's
lot of
really
people
hard.
say, I'm just going to, forget my trauma, or I'm going to erase it. We're going to just clear it and it goes away forever. And you can do some really, I hear this from people a lot because I do a lot of powerful, my method works with neuroplasticity. So we are rewiring the brain. We're
Right.
updating cellular memories. We're doing all this really amazing stuff. But I'm never ever suggesting to somebody that you're ever going to completely forget that you were hurt, nor would I ask you to do that. Like, I'm finding for myself where I am now, I'm getting these incredible realizations. I said, like, over the last few weeks, I've been really seeing all the different parts of myself, and I'm starting to understand at the end of the day, the thing that's had me pinned in place my whole life until, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. Nope, sorry, 9 days ago, when I was like, oh my God, that's it. It's very simple. It's like, I grew up in a place that was very hard to understand. I definitely blame myself. I was angry at myself because I couldn't handle it. Okay, now I'm 6 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
You're telling me a 6-year-old is supposed to be able to handle the level of bananasness that I grew up around. And I didn't have, listen, one alcoholic is hard. Okay.
Yeah.
One alcoholic is a lot. Now, when you have 3 or 4 alcoholics on one side of your family and you have 3 or 4 on the other side, and they're all in one room together, do you know how difficult that is for a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old to process, understand what's happening, to handle it, to hold it together? I'm like, listen, little baby girl,
Yeah.
it was not your responsibility to hold it together. You were a child. Okay.
Yeah.
So permission granted to not keep your shit together, to be emotional, to be scared, to be angry. You had every right to feel what you were feeling. Step number 1.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, because of that, I just, my whole entire life, I've had a fear of rejection because I want to be loved and accepted. And again, that's so simple. There you are. You're a little kid. You just want to be loved and accepted by everybody. But you got all these alcoholic, unstable kooks who love you and hate you. And you're like, I don't get it. What do I need to do to be loved and accepted? How do I do that? And then, so then I see that piece and I go, okay, so I was a very, very sweet girl who wanted peace and love and who couldn't make it happen, who blamed herself for it, and then who lived the rest of her life terrified that, nobody would ever love her again because those people didn't love her. And I'm saying all of this because that was the most powerful realization, along with the fact that I now love and accept the fact that I am scared of rejection. I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
I will never try to convince myself that I don't need to be scared of rejection. And a lot of mindset coaches will try to push you to become so like, I am not afraid and I am fear free. And it's like, do you know what? Every single day of my life, I'm running the risk of rejection. The more vulnerable I become, the more I put myself out there, the more I love, and the more I want to be loved, and I want to love and be loved in return. That's all I want. Now, the more I love and am loved in return, the more it's likely that I might be rejected by somebody. So it's like, I got to understand that you're not going to have one without the other, girlfriend.
Yeah. And this, like, I am an amplifier of truth and power. And when somebody actually steps in to amplify and to step into their truth and power, this conversation comes up, and not in even a way of the rejection part like you did, but like, will they accept me? Which is also rooted obviously in rejection. And when we lead our life in this potency, like you are now stepping into that space and just owning it and being all in, and you're like, there's most likely a chance I'm going to get rejected, but this is a thing I'm working through consciously. See, we're having a disaster over here happen.
Wish I could see, but don't.
Oh my gosh, it's like really crazy. Actually, they were in the shelves and like moving plates, and I was like, oh my god, someone's gonna break something. I know, like such exciting puppy time. But when you're in this space, like, and it's the grit, right? It's that courage to move forward. It's that courage to step in. I know. They're really, really, they want to go outside, but I can't let them out without getting off with you. So funny. Anyways, it's the grit and that courage. And I just want to honor you for that, and honor this whole craziness happening in our world, that in the craziness, like, our experiences, our healing, what's happening with the puppies as they're like eating the ring light and moving through some energy and everything. It's like, this is what life is, right? And owning all the parts of us and really being in that space. And I love that you brought up, it's like we never will forget, but we heal through and look at and learn from the situations that we move through. So yeah, powerful,
Yeah,
powerful stuff.
I get all my wisdom from RuPaul, not all of it, but I love RuPaul. I love so much of what is said on the Drag Race series, and I haven't watched it recently, but I used to like religiously watch it because I loved it. And there was one episode, and I don't remember who it was, but they were going through something, and RuPaul said something like, "Listen, when a bone breaks, it grows back stronger." Like
So
when a
true.
bone breaks, it just grows back stronger. And whoever this person was, I can't remember. It was someone who was really wonderful and sweet as well, who was being vulnerable. And I just remember that acknowledgement of like, listen, you've been through stuff, you've been challenged, you've been, broken, but it grows back stronger. And I know that that's true. And I think it's the sort of one of the reasons why I do what I do and why I'm such a firm believer in rooting deeper into who you are and accepting yourself for who you are. Because when I tried to like convince myself that I was somebody else, or like convince myself that I could escape it somehow. And I think even in the coaching industry, there's some unfortunate messages out there that can make you believe that you can become this titan, that you exceed fear and you become whatever. And it's like, you know what? I don't actually think that's possible, and I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that's normal, and I don't think that's the point. Because we're human, and we're here to be human. Why should we try to convince people that we are invincible? Do you know what I mean? Because I don't want to work with someone who's invincible. That means that means they're detached from something.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I always state out loud, like to people, I'm like, guys, I want you to remember too, I'm also a human. Like I'm going through my own experiences, and fear does show up in my world in certain ways, but I never let the fear hold me back. I take a look at the fear and I go, is this an illusion? Is this truth? What do I need to work through?
Right.
And then move through it, because I'm on a mission and everything drops into me intuitively, right? And it can for all of us. I got a puppy biting my fucking toe. I know. And it can for all of us that way, but it's about trusting and really doing the work around that to surrender into that space, right? And yeah, it's just an interesting process. And how you brought that up about the fear, it's like the duality on the earth will bring it in almost like the first energy, but it's our truth and our acknowledgement and our connection within that is the leader. Are we going to let the fear hold us back and keep us contained, or are we going to do the work to move through that to be able to hold it? And it doesn't mean that every single time you go cliff diving that you're not going to have a fear that you're, right when you're up on top of the mountain, right? It gets easier, but the fear can be always there for us, right?
Well, and I think that it's I teach a lot of embodiment work, and sometimes I do a lot of different things. And on this past Thursday, I had a group of women, and one of the things I had them do was I had them connect with the consciousness of the powerful feminine energy. So we were connecting with goddesses. We were connecting with like Sekhmet and like really, really like top dog goddesses, right? Like powerful women.
Like Hindu? Do you do a lot of work with the Hindu goddesses? Like obviously with the Shakti bomb, or is it more like diverse?
It is, no, I mean the Hindu, so Hindu goddesses, Tibetan, Egyptian, Greek, Roman. I mean, I think they're all consciousness. They all have different names, but the consciousness is very similar. So the Hindu versus Egyptian versus Greek. I mean, like Greek and Roman, right? You've got Venus and you've got Aphrodite. So the one that I was sort of zeroing in on though was Sekhmet, and I guess Sekhmet would kind of bridge into maybe Kali Ma. I think that's the sort of intersection. But there's that ferocious. I like Sekhmet because I was into the cat thing, like the lion thing. And Kali Ma doesn't have a lion head, but there is a Tibetan Dakini that is the lion goddess. So she's out there. I mean, she's out there in different cultures. And I had them literally downloading this consciousness into their bodies so they could, get it in their cells and their activate, DNA, if you want to call it that, and really embody it and get it in, like feel the energy. And then we did a couple of different exercises with it. And then one of the things I had them do was we do some stretches and movements, and I had them down on all fours. And I said, now I want you to imagine that you are this cat moving through the jungle. And I mean, you're down there in Costa Rica, so you could do this out there in the jungle. Yes. You could go be with the cats and do it. Here, I'm in Connecticut. There's really no, like, we got a cat named Lilith. She's a black cat. I could do it with her in the grass, but it's not quite the same. But I had them doing it, moving in. One thing I thought was interesting was everyone usually typically has their eyes closed, and my eyes were closed, but I could hear one woman like the feet were like really like strong. Yeah. Like someone was like really jamming out with this. And I thought, yes, this is sweet. Yes, yes. And one of them I think was even like there's one was like making like cat sounds. Like that's a horse. But cats do stuff like that too. I don't know. There's stuff happening, which I love. And I was like, yes, you are the cat and you are moving through the jungle. And the reason why I had them do that was because after we were done, I said, listen, you need to understand that the cat in the jungle she is moving through the jungle with courage and confidence, but she is very much aware that she is a tasty snack for somebody out there.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. She knows that she is threatened at all times, but that does not stop her. Okay. Right. She's out there. She moves with confidence. She takes up space, and she is the hunter and the hunted. So your job when you're in your body is to move through space with confidence. That doesn't mean, and this was coming from my lesson about rejection. I said, listen, I'm more and more aware than ever. The more I put myself out there, the more people that listen to me and come to my workshops and show up, right? The more I'm in danger of being caught. Okay. Right. Because I have a very, very large fear of rejection. And also because I have cellular memories of not nice times. Like I literally up until recently was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize like I am physically scared. Like I think I'm going to get caught in a net and scooped up and put in a box. I feel that like someone's going to come, they're going to trap me. They're going to catch me. They're going to take me home and they're going to put me in a little tiny cage and they're not going to let me out. I was scared of that, which makes sense because that's what they used to do to powerful women and like suffragettes, you think that the suffragettes were out there votes for women. They were taking them, putting them in paddy wagons, grabbing them, arresting them, and locking them up in prison. And then doing not nice stuff like starving them and beating them and like that. So, I mean, this wasn't that long ago that this stuff was happening. So I understand my fear. But the point of it was I was telling them that and I said, listen, like I'm very aware of the fact that the more I share who I am, the more I stop living in fear of rejection, the greater the chances are that I'm going to be rejected. And I'm learning that I have to just accept that because I thought that I could find a way to do it where I wouldn't have to worry about that because that's what happens when you become so enlightened that you only attract people that love you. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm still going to attract people that don't like me. I can't stop that.
Yeah.
Just like a cat in a jungle isn't going to be like a lion or a tiger or a panther or whatever moving through the jungle doesn't expect like, I'm here in the jungle and because I'm so powerful, there's nothing that's ever going to get me. They're like, yo, I'm going to go move through. I'm aware. I'm tapped in. I'm conscious. I'm connected. I know what's happening all around me. If I need to escape, I will. Or if I need to fight, I will. But I got to go get myself some dinner.
Yes.
We're not like, that's important.
This is so powerful. And I love this. Like, this is, so great. And obviously all the puppies are now sleeping.
So I'm like, cats.
Yeah, we're talking about cats.
Oh, we thought this was a show about dogs.
Yeah, I know. But I love the part that you brought in about the embodiment piece and about that moving through the body. Because I think that this is something that we are learning in the collective energy, that it's always stored in our body. Every emotion is in the body. It's creating the pain in the body, which most of us consciously understand, but most of us didn't know the embodiment piece was such a pivotal piece for moving energy, for accelerating energy, for activating energy, for bringing it in, and how much more powerful it is when we actually do the embodiment piece alongside all the other work.
Yeah.
So I love that you offer this and that it's part of what you create. I did a couple of them in 2023, just a couple of offshoots of like just embodiment, light and dark embodiment. And then I brought in the duality of masculine and feminine energy in an embodiment practice. And I just love that you're talking about this, because I feel like this is one of the key pieces that will help people really, really fully step into some of the healing work that they've been desiring to do.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it really is. And the funniest thing is that the reason why I'm so good at it and the reason why I know about it as much as I do know is
yeah,
because of all my training as an
I was going
actress.
to say, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
That's how I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Okay, so I'm a master of character study.
Yeah.
When I, believe it or not, like one of my classes, one of my assignments was be a cat, like do a
Yeah.
monologue as a cat. Act, I mean, like that's the sort of shit you do in acting class. It's weird, but it's all about being in your body, being in alignment, being connected, telling stories, connecting with emotion, using your own emotion to sort of become somebody else or whatever. And I thought, wait a minute, this is stupid, because acting is learning how to play a human that you're not, but we can use all the same techniques to help us play the person that we are.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of the exercises and all of the different things that we did. And I mean, I took like all of it, because when you study to be an actor, you're learning all these different tools, right? You're learning character study. So you're learning how to break down the psyche of the person you're playing. So I've
Right.
created tools that are like essentially character studies. Emotional, one of the things you learn is you really break down the motivation of the character, so you start to figure out the tactics, like how are they doing what they're doing, why are they doing it, what are they trying to get out of it, because that's how you become like it's to get you inside the psychology of the character you're playing so you can understand the person, which is why I think two things for me. One, why I built that into this Shakti Bomb method, all of these
Yes.
ways to get inside yourself, but
Yes.
also why I'm so good at helping people get inside themselves, because I know how to essentially, it's weird. One, I'm an intuitive and all that stuff. So there's the energy master in me, but there's also the actress, which means I can, if someone gets into a scene and they're freezing to death, I know exactly how to get in the scene with them and get them out of freezing to death, because I know how to play with the story and the emotion. So it's like this weird, it's like psychodrama meets, it's an interest. A lot of people do my practices and my workshops and stuff, and they're like, this reminds me of IFS, only
Mm.
more emotional. This reminds me of psychodrama, only more
Mm.
sensory. This reminds me of, or more physical. This reminds me of NLP, but only with more energy practices. And so it's like, yes, because everything, all those tools are trying to do is help you break down what's happening inside you internally. So
Right.
I help you understand it. It's really cool. I help
Yeah,
you
it is
understand
cool.
it from like a mental sort of mindset piece.
Yeah.
But I would say the chef's kiss is the like the magic thing that's like puts it over the top, the little bit of caviar or whatever, um, is the truffle, the shaved truffle
Yeah.
inside this method. I watched a lot of The Bear the last few weeks. What can I say? I'm blew
I
my
love
mind.
truffle.
Show is so good, blows my mind. If anybody hasn't watched it, watch The Bear. Side note, but the fact that this practice doesn't just get inside your mind, but it gets in the nooks and crannies of your
Mm.
body where other energy practices and things can't really get you. That's the incredible transformational piece, because it seals the deal, because it's the through line, right? Because you can think it, you can even feel it in your body, but if you can actually move it through you and out, and then update it. So basically what I'm saying is, like, an example, if you had trauma, and this is my example, right? If you were traumatized, and when you had a traumatic experience, which was my experience of sexual assault, and you were left feeling like you needed to protect yourself and you were hiding like this, and then you live your life and you start to notice that whenever you feel vulnerable or scared, you shut yourself down. First of all, you shut yourself down and you run away from opportunity. It's like, okay, well, what's my body doing? Well, it's doing this. Okay, so now I know how my sexual trauma is playing out in my life, emotionally and physically. I'm going through life like this because that's what my body did to protect myself. So I'm still like this. So releasing that means rolling your shoulders, getting it out, right? That's part one. But the chef's kiss is teaching your body a new story. So anybody can help somebody. Oh, you've got whatever stuck. Like, let's clear it. Fine. Clearing is cool. Clearing is rad. Teaching your body another energetic vibration pattern, teaching your body to hold a new energetic state consistently. That's not so easy. But with these types of tools, it is, because I can actually teach you how to wire your brain and your body to hold on to a new memory, which means we're actually teaching your body to remember a new story than the one it used to know. So your whole cellular system is updated. And we do that through movement. We do that through what I call somatic shaping, which means the shapes your body makes, partnered with meditation, mantra sort of aspect, which rewires the brain as well. So the brain and the body both remember together. Bonding.
Yes. The power. This is powerful stuff. Like, I really love how you brought this forward, because I feel, and I'm feeling called to, even in my personal life, to bring in more somatic movement and more connection to my next levels of expansion and the desires that I really want to bring in, because then we can fast track it. Then we can bring in new energy. Then we can open it up even deeper into the space of stuff. So cool. Yeah, tell us a bit about what Shakti Bomb is. So you've got your own creation, and I love that you call it Shakti Bomb. So do you channel Shakti? Like, tell me all the details of how that
goes. So I've been sort of peppering it in here. Like, I've been talking kind of about the background of it, how it works, just little bits. You got a preview there. So I call it Shakti Bomb because Shakti, yes, creative life force energy, creative power. My teacher who taught me was a student of Sai Baba, so I have this lineage with Hindu traditions, and so normally I never would have using I make up new words too sometimes. Used that languaging, but I'll never forget it. I was at the gym and I was exercising and I heard this Shakti Bomb. It's called Shakti Bomb. That's what it's called. And I was like, well, I can't. Okay. Like, no, that's not right. That's like, I can't use that word for so many reasons. And it was like, no, you call it what it is. And it is Shakti. It is creative life force energy. It is creative feminine power. It is Shakti. That is what you teach. That is what you have learned. That is what you've mastered. You call it what it is. You call it Shakti. And then bomb, because I'm the bomb. No, because there's a little bit of sass to me.
There's a little bit there.
Bomb. So it's kind of like Shakti Bomb, but also because it's actually a nod to Shiva. So Bomb is Shiva, the destroyer. So Shakti Bomb is this incredible transformational energy that's like, it's like sweet destruction. Basically. Right? It comes in and it kind of like blows you open, but then it helps you create something new. And now the interesting thing about that is, so my teacher, he taught a very similar way of doing things. This is how I learned it. He never taught us how to do it. He just did it. But I was like, oh shit, like I see you did this, did that. A lot of what I just understood. I knew it, I understood
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But so he called it the sword in the brush. And so he had an interesting lineage. He was like a samurai, and he had like 8 black belts, and he trained with Sai Baba. He was also Irish, like little sweet Irishman. But so he was the sword in the brush, and the idea was you cut away and then you paint in your new reality. So Shakti Bomb is sort of the same thing, right? It's like
Right.
you cut away what you don't need, and then you use the Shakti to fill it in.
Right.
So it's very much in the lineage, and that's why I knew it was right, because I thought, that makes sense. Also, not that this is the be all and end all, but the initials of his method were SB, right?
Yeah.
Sword in the brush, mine's Shakti Bomb SB, and also his teacher was Sai Baba SB, so it was like SB, 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 and also before I created Shakti Bomb, my previous creation was a caricature of myself named Sick Bitch. She was also SB. So it was like SB. I'm like, okay, you know what? Either it's BS or it's SB. And I don't think it's BS. It worked. So if it didn't work, I would think it was BS. But I'm like, no, this is it. So that's where the name came from. And it's the system that I've been explaining. So it's a combination of tools designed to support you on working on multiple levels. So we're doing the mindset. So we're working with the brain, neuroplasticity. We're working with the body. So we're working with movement, energy, emotions. And then we're working with the spirit, the soul. So you've got this incredible trifecta, mind, body, spirit, in one beautiful system that works to sort of seamlessly update your life when you move through the practices. So it's really cool. It's very creative. I always say it's actually a lot of fun, because it's artistic. It's like you get to have the best time. And there's all these different practices inside of it. It's designed, it's built kind of like NLP, because that was one of my inspirations. So neuro-linguistic programming. And inside that system, there's a suite of tools that you can use. So you've got say parts integration, and you've got timeline therapy, and you've got the swish technique. So I've got somatic parts, which means you're like, somatic parts integration. There's quantum time travel, which means it's, just happening on another level. There's somatic shaping. So we're using the body to help you release emotion and create new feelings. There's something I took actually from acting, psychological gestures, which helps you fire up the feelings you need to feel. So it's all of these different tools inside one method. And depending on who you're working with, what they need, what their learning style is, just like NLP, you've got different tools in your toolkit to support the transformation. So it's like, that's why it's fun. And I've had people process it. Well, I got to process whatever, and I'll get them, and I'll have them punching the air or doing whatever, and I'll have them speaking to whatever they were angry about, and it's fun. And I'm like, now tell them how you really feel. And they're like, you motherfucker, asshole, bastard, poop face. It's like they're just like letting it out, and I'm like, yes, more. Tell them how you really feel. And all that is the emotional release. But it's fun and it's physical. So they're really getting to use, or you or whoever goes through it, you get to use your whole self, which is, that's the nod to my acting training, because when you're in acting, when you're acting, you're using your whole body, right? You don't just act with your mind. You become. So you use your body, you use your senses, you use your whole self.
Yeah.
Which is just
cool.
fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And although the spiritual journey opens us up to this plethora of things, the darkness stuff and the shadow work and all the stuff, the inner child work and the connection and the roots of stuff, it's also this really beautiful expanded space when we see it that way. And even through our healing, if we can add that energy in, like you just said about the fun aspect and really moving through like with play as we maneuver, I think life gets just a little bit less serious, you know, and a little bit less heavy on us. We all have our shit we're working through. We're all on a different timeline doing different things, you know, honoring our stuff, and no one's better than any other person. We're all equally relevant in the puzzle pieces that we hold in the earth expansion. Each puzzle piece is necessary. But it's like, I desire to play even when I'm going through shit storms. I desire to like still hold that joy and pleasure and desire, you know, inside of that. I really want that in life. So
yeah. And the thing is, that's actually those are the qualities of all these goddesses that no one wants to talk about. Like I was I was so excited when because I've had conversations with people that are my mentors, and like I had one of my mentors when I first met her, she said, listen, you have to understand something. You are a Davic soul.
mm-hmm.
You are a Davic soul. And I was like, but that means goddess. Like I'm a goddess soul. Like that can't, no, like, yeah, right. Whatever. That doesn't, you know, you're saying I'm made of goddess, like I'm goddess energy. My soul is goddess. Like,
yeah,
that's weird, but okay. And then the more I really learned to get in my own body, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense, because I embody all the qualities of the goddesses. And I'm very, very, like, I think if Sekhmet were a cat woman now, we'd be best friends, because I'm like, yo, I totally get you, girlfriend. Like I'm very similar. And I totally get all of that. But the other aspect of it was, I was doing some studying once, and it turns out not in, this is where the lineages are different, but in the Tibetan Buddhism, the Dakini is the, you know, and a lot of the Dakini are, they first of all, they were sort of hidden in secret. Like no one wanted, they didn't want anyone to know. Second of all, they were the keepers of all the wisdom, and they had all these termas, which were all of the tools and practices that allowed you to do a lot of the stuff that I do. And I just kind of naturally knew this stuff. Oh, it's not that hard. You just, you know, open the subconscious, move this piece here, move that piece there. Like, you know, I'm doing all this like high level stuff that, like, you know, my teacher's doing it. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. You just open and did it. Like I remembered all this stuff. I got it, which was interesting. And the more I read about them, there was a very strong alignment between myself and the Dakini in particular. And they are known for being playful, spicy. They also are called, they call them sky dancers. And then they also, so they're sky dancers, and then they also thrive in the charnel ground, which means they live in the heavens, and then they do their work in the graveyards with all the dead bodies and stuff. Like they feast on the dead. So they do this really dark work, but they're the lightest beings ever. And they have this big range. And that was when I went, okay, well, I'm one of those. Like, I totally get that. That's what but I mean, it is true, because that's one of my things is, and it makes people angry, because they're like, no, you have to choose. Are you a trauma healer or are you a manifestation coach? And I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of like, I go back and forth, right? Like I go down in the depths, and you're in the basement, and, you know, we kind of clean you up and get you out. And then I show you what, I take you flying with me. Like, what's wrong with that? Why can't I do both really well? Stop it. And I felt very limited by that until I understood that there are goddesses that are designed for this, and that's what they do. And then the thing that really put it over the top is I went to an event in her home. Her name's Jean Houston. She's like super cool. She's brilliant. She's written like 30 books or something by now. I mean, she's in her 80s. She's probably written 30 books now. When I met her, she'd written like 26 books. She's very powerful. She says she's the embodiment of Athena, and she is very like tough and smart, though. This woman is smart, but also I was like, oh, when I met her, I felt a little bit like, because she looked at me and was like, what is this little nymph-like person doing here? Like she looked me up and down and was like, But anyway, And it was, at the time I was very upset, but now it's great fun. I'm like, that was great. I remember when she like attacked me for dancing all kooky, and she told us to dance to like some songs. So I've danced. And then she was like, did you see? Then she like shamed me for my sexy moves. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, you're shaming me for being me when you told me to let myself go and be me. So which one is it, lady? But anyway, long story short, I love her. I think she's a genius. And I think it was just like two goddesses being like, yo, be more like this. You know? And I'm like, no, be more like that. Yeah. But when I was there, she taught this, like, she was like, now I will teach you this amazing thing. And she took us on this, through this practice. And then she explained what it was. And she said that her friend, wise person, because she had been in Tibet and blah, 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 it was a terma. And I was like, but that's the terma. I know that terma. I know that one. And it's supposed to be secret. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I knew it. Like, what?
Yeah.
So that was another aspect of all of these, basically just all of these pieces coming together, and me understanding that feminine wisdom and creativity is a real thing. Feminine wisdom, Buddhas, goddesses, doesn't matter what tradition, have basically been silenced and told that they're not as powerful as them. And that's in all cultures. Hathor, Horus, like all that stuff. Yeah. But they've been very minimized. And so that means senses, emotions, creativity, fluidity, all of this stuff, everything that I do really, really well, super feminine, super Davic, is exactly what those goddesses were all about. And they were all minimized. Yeah. They were all like, you're not that important. We need these dude goddesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
The god of war, right? Like, you shut up, crying lady. Like, we want to hear from that guy. So, you know.
I work a lot, in the Egyptian lineage. So Hathor and Isis are like my go-tos a lot for the work that I do. And Hathor activated my light language abilities as well. So multidimensionally being able to clear through light language has been a really cool tool to just even speak into, right? So I get your flow and the remembrance of stuff that we're like, how do we even know this? Oh yeah, that's because, you know. So I totally feel that.
Yeah. I love Hathor. Hathor is one of my BFFs as well from other times and other memories. I feel like in general, I have a really great relationship with feminine wisdom and souls and goddesses, and like that ranges from someone like Hathor to Marilyn Monroe. I mean, it's like the consciousness has been around forever. And I think that's why when I had my sort of wake up and I came around to who I am, why I am the way I am, what I went through, I kind of lived the same. I mean, I actually experienced the very same story that a lot of the goddesses, it's like we got a lot in common. I'm like, oh yeah, hey, I know that one. I know the rape one and the all of the banishment from society, because I got kicked out of my spiritual community at one point, and like, all of these different pieces. And I think that's part of why it's so important and why it's so powerful, because embodiment is feminine. It's being in your body, feeling your feelings, using your senses, using your emotions. The masculine, at the risk of sounding like Barbie, the patriarchy really wanted to just cut that off, because that was the only way to shut those women up, right? The goddesses up, the powerful ladies up. So it's like, let's just sever that relationship and connection. And then we can actually, like have our say. And now I just think there's too many people coming back together, waking up, realizing, wait a minute, no, I deserve to be treated with respect. What I do is important. What I say matters. And that's kind of how I came full circle with all of this, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's the point for me, is that we need people fully integrated, living here on Earth, taking up space, right? Really expressing themselves. Like, we need that here now in order to create whatever the next change is. survive that change, create heaven on earth. Like if we're creating heaven on earth, then we're the ones that are creating it by being present with each other.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
more can you ask for, you know?
Yeah. And like, I think that that's it, that's all that we're here to do, and to really integrate that. And yeah, it's just so interesting. I could take us in multiple directions, but we're almost already at the hour, which is actually kind of cool. We're going to have all your contact details in the show notes. So people are like, I want to figure out like what this Shakti bomb is. I want to do this embodiment thing, and whatever it is, they can contact you directly and we can get them the information.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but I'd love for you just to kind of close off today. Like, what do you desire to speak into the world? Like, what do you want people to feel, hear, know coming out of this episode, coming into wherever they're headed next in their day? Like, what is on your heart to kind of just share into the world?
I mean, I feel like everyone always asks at the end, right? Like, what is the thing that you haven't said? I'm like, I talk a lot. I talked a lot about everything. And I think that we covered the gamut of like everything that I want to speak into the world and everything I want you to think about. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to really always remember that you are, number one, the creator of your destiny, which means you want to be empowered. You want to remember that what you think, feel, say, express, do does have an impact in this world, which is vitally important. And also something that we didn't talk about that I'm very big on these days is number one, it's okay to love yourself. Okay. It's number two, it's okay to think you're fabulous. Number three, it's okay to have a healthy sense of ego and be proud of who you are and to talk about it in the world and to share it. We need people fully empowered, meaning you remember that you are here for a reason, right? You are important, you matter, and everything you say and do will be held against you in a point of court. Or it sounds like I'm
In the court of law or whatever it is.
Yes, obviously I'm not a police officer because I don't know what that your Miranda rights. Sounds like I'm reading you your Miranda rights, but honestly, I think that it's true. It's the opposite, the anti-Miranda rights, right? Which is like everything you say and do will not be held against you. It is your right to speak up. It is your right to choose what happens next and all of that. So that really tends to hit me in the heart, and I hope that you feel that in your heart too, because it's just that sense of like whoosh, right? Just like letting it go, opening your heart, bearing the SB, mine would be an SB on my chest, right? My letter. Yes, I'm here, right? So you own your power and you make a lot of noise and roar and be fierce and all that magic.
Be cat-like. Just be cat-like. I know. So good. This has been fun, through all of the mayhem for the first half of the show, and now we're here in this quiet power energy. No, it's been great. Like, Katie, I super appreciate your heart and your frankness and just how you showed up today, your humor and all the things.
It was fun. I loved it. As I said, if there was a talkathon, I could probably win. So I'm glad that you're cutting me off because I'd be like, wait, but I have more stories. That's for another show, another day, right? Come back for more, friends. Or I hope you visit my website, follow me on Instagram, do stuff like that because I got so much to tell you. I'll keep you entertained for days and days and days.
And that's a perfect way to kind of close this off. As I always say to everyone, help share out the episode, tag us on Instagram. If there's something that you heard in this, we want to know, send us a message, connect us, do reviews, do whatever you feel inclined. But the mission of the Light Warrior is all of our missions. And the more hands we can get this into, the more people get to expand, the more light gets through the world, the more people heal, the more people embody, the more people do their thing. So this is great. Katie, super, super happy. And thank you again so much for your shares and for being here.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Well, what did I tell you? Just like every single time that we get guests on the show, like I love the conversations that we get to have and the experiences we get to move through and how this shows up in the world. Every single one of us has a story and every single one of us is driven towards experiences and learning and the journey, even if we don't desire that some days. And I love Katie's story, how she brought forth about the trauma she'd been through and the experiences in her life from all of the things, from the industry experiences to her car accident to all of the stuff of growing through life and the ascension awakening for her. And I just found it so potent. So I would love it, guys. Like I always say, help us share the episode out. Tag Katie and I on Instagram. Tell us what you loved about it. We want to hear from you. If a friend of yours could utilize this podcast, send it out to them. Like we are all in this together. And I say this all the time, but I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. We are all in this together. And one of us shines, all of us are shining, right? So let's keep up that momentum of light. The Light Warriors movement is necessary more now than ever. Sending out lots of great vibes to you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.